And
He'll be
we are
back.
just plowing right ahead with, and he's gonna be really sorry he missed this one because this
I
is
know.
a new series, Dead Ringers, based on the Cronenberg film Dead Ringers, which Cronenberg
Yeah.
he's
It's
so
one of his best. Dead Ringers is an amazing movie. I think it's Cronenberg's most accessible, even though it's pretty harsh and
yeah.
strange. It's actually fairly straightforward compared to a lot of his movies. It's a
Mhm.
but it still has that sort of body horror thing in it. You know, those
Yeah.
icky things about human bodies and things like that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. It's
and
definitely
this,
got that.
yeah. Well, part of I think from what I've seen, I think this is a reboot of that idea,
Mhm.
but with women, like two
Yeah.
women, which turns the tables interestingly because the original
Yeah.
Dead Ringers was it it was a disturbing film for women, from what I've heard from women who saw it. They were like, "This is creepy as hell." It's in a total sort of violation kind of a movie.
But, no, it totally makes sense. Everything you're saying is
Yeah.
correct, but, I mean, part of it is, and we can all relate to the fact, you have to trust your doctor, and
Yeah.
when in Dead Ringers, the idea of the duality, these 2 twins, and they would often switch places, and sometimes the women, they assumed they had their doctor, but did they? I mean, there was sort of this, even though they were twins, you want your doctor, and when you're getting someone else who's kind of being an imposter, it gets sort of creepy, and then
Yeah.
besides the fact when they start kind of going off the rails and being very, shall we say, uneven and, a little bit aggressive,
Unhinged. Yeah.
unhinged. So, you're right, the interesting part of this is you're inverting it from a male doctor
Yeah.
to a female doctor. The idea of this is 2 women is kind of, how is this gonna work? Like,
Yeah,
will
I
it
wonder what
work?
they're gonna do with
I
it.
and it's a whole series, like, this was a movie, had a very strict beginning and end, there was no
Yeah.
expanding the story beyond what we saw, really. It's like pretty much a pretty finite.
The other thing about the movie that was really creepy is the other primal sort of visceral fear of that's in
Mhm.
so many horror films, from The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby, all these things where someone
Right.
who is very close to you, not unlike your doctor, but even more intimate,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
person that you're in love with, the person that you're having a
Yeah.
relationship with, and is
Yeah, that's the other
literally
dynamic, you're right.
not the person you think they are. Not just, and there's some great lines in it. The actress Genevieve Bujold,
Yeah.
she
Mhm.
actually tells him, you are like two people. Oh my God, you have two distinctly
Yeah.
different personality. And when you feel that way about someone that a lot of people are like that. It's like, oh, like we watched that crime documentary where the guy drinks
Mhm.
and everybody suddenly called him a different name. They called him Timmy or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you
Yeah.
turned into a different person. Well, in a
Yep.
situation like this, it's like literally a different person has stepped into the role of your boyfriend or
How
girlfriend, and
creepy would that be?
that yeah, and to suddenly sort of put 2 and 2 together and go, "Holy crap, I've been played in a really disgusting,
Ugh, so gross.
horrible way." Yeah.
And the fact that it was like it was a mutual, like, they agreed to do it, like,
Yeah,
and then
and
you're
they
just
were
your
playing.
trust was ugh, so
They're
nasty.
basically, "Oh, you take her tonight, please, I'm tired. Will you take
So,
her?" Yeah.
that being said, so, first of all, see the original Dead Ringers for sure if you haven't seen it already. I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely one of Cronenberg's best. In fact, Jeremy Irons should have won an Oscar for that role, and it's when he
Yeah.
won an Oscar for a movie the year later, he still thanked Cronenberg for putting him in Dead Ringers. Like, that's
Yeah.
how powerful he knew that movie was
He
and how
should have
good
won
Cronenberg
2
was. I think it was
Oscars
great.
for that
He should
role.
have.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
played
2,
2
each one of him. That'd
Yeah.
be kinda funny. Wish Jeremy Irons was the best one. I don't know.
Well, they were so different in the
Alright.
movie, but you could see
Yeah.
where they would just seem like different aspects of the same person, but when you saw them
Exactly.
together, one was very distinctly different from the other, and he
Yeah.
did such a great job of keeping you aware of who was who
That's
by
right.
his body language and the tone of his voice and the way he carried himself through
Mhm.
the room. One guy was different, it was a
Yeah.
beautiful performance, really amazing. So much subtlety and
Mhm.
nuance.
Amazing.
So should we
So
roll
let's
this
take a look
trailer?
at the reboot All right.
reboot.
Let's try it out.
We got that trailer ready.
Ready.
And
it's impossible to explain this relationship to anyone outside of it. We just cut a baby out of a woman's womb. She asked us to. We didn't just like do it. She's the funny one. My sister and I do work that is groundbreaking but hopeful, radical but safe.
Sometimes I feel I've got
Tainted Love.
I want to change the way that women birth. It is world-changing.
How does that vomit-inducing idealism translate into dollars?
I do my job to help people. Baby sister, you're so deliciously perfect. Where do you come from? It's capitalism. Very bad.
Once I ran to
You're okay. Oh, I'm brilliant.
now I run from you.
You want me to grow you a baby out of nothing? Bring it on. Let's do the research. Let's make anything happen.
Are you God? How did you create life where it would not grow?
That is not what we want to be doing, though. But it might be. But it's not. But it could be. But it's not.
What Frankenstein trauma are you up to?
I really like her.
What do you mean? It's none of your business. Everything's my business.
Not this.
Cannot stand the way you
They're both brilliant. They're both liabilities.
We are extraordinary.
touch me, baby, take
Wow.
me.
You're a psychopath. Oh, well, if I'm a psycho, you're a psycho. We are as close to perfection as you can get. That is just nuts. I love it. You don't need anyone else. You never have.
You were looking really crazy for a while there. As it turns out, I'm really sane. Isn't that wonderful?
Wow. Rachel Weisz is amazing. I love her.
Yeah. I guess it's just sort of common knowledge in the film that they are twins. So that because they're open, sort of seems like they're kind of open about it. But they're
Well, I mean, they
sort
were
of-
open about it in the film. You just weren't sure which one you were getting sometimes. This one looks a little more like, I know the other one, they were a gynecologist, but I don't remember a ton of birth scenes in it. Like this one looks more like
Right.
they're like going deeper into fertility and like cloning. Definitely
Yeah.
super creepy. But I like this sort of, I mean, Tainted Love was a little on the nose, but I'll
I
give it to
know.
him because I do love the song and it worked great on it. But I think I love that they retained the red scrubs, which I thought were such
Yeah,
a
that was
genius,
interesting.
move in the original film. So that was cool. They brought that over, and it had that kind of dark palette, like very dark and creepy and shadowy. It had a very Cronenberg feel, even though he's not involved. Still had
Yeah,
that
the
little bit of that
production
vibe. Like
design
it
is
felt very,
beautiful.
a little artificial, and then the symmetry of the scenes. I liked that when you were seeing them together, and they would contrast. Like she could contrast just looking at her. You could tell the difference between the sisters, even though they're just not even talking, which I thought was great. But
Right.
Jeremy Irons did also, where you could really
Yeah.
tell just by very slight gestures who was who, which I loved. Like so subtle.
Yeah. Just by
Um,
posture.
but
Yeah.
this was-
Just
yeah,
like one
it's
sat in
really
a
'cause
chair
one-
like this,
Yeah.
kind of swagger, and then the other one sat sort of like this. There was just little difference.
Yeah.
But it's I mean it seems like a fascinating film. The idea of a modern Frankenstein kind of story where it sounds like they're
Mhm.
creating clones or they figured out
Yeah.
a way to create life with DNA somehow without
Apparently it's
cloning.
vomit inducing.
Yeah, so the one about we've never needed anybody else. I think that it seemed like a couple of lines sounded familiar, like they were from the
Yeah.
original film. And some
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
visuals, there was one where her face is forward and then the other one is sideways beside her, so their eyes lined up, the profile
Right.
here. And that's the poster for the original Dead Ringers, was one
right.
profile against the face, two sides of
That's
the
right.
same personality.
Speaking of posters, so we take a look.
You got any?
Take a look. I got some posters. Okay, we'll start with the teaser posters because those are always can be more interesting because they're a little less writing on them. They're like a teaser. So we have a really cool kind of art poster. Made this
Oh,
like a
nice.
very cool kind of retro illustration. That's very fun. I love that interesting shape in the middle.
I
Very
know, it's kind of a
with an eye in it.
interesting shape.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's an
it
eye.
is. It's an eye on its side, and then we
Yeah, that's what it is.
And then, of course, the lambs, which apparently she's experimenting with, and it looked like they're actually alive in those tanks. It wasn't just like experiments in the tanks. They're actually probably embryonic and they're alive in those tanks.
Cloned somehow from stem cells, maybe.
Cloned. They're bringing in the red scrubs, which I love. You know what we should do is we should watch it and then do some comparisons, maybe shot for shot or wardrobe comparisons with the original film, because we are seeing some there.
Yeah.
And you can tell one is kind of looking off, one is kind of looking back. So we have it should be symmetrical, but her face is different. So you see the two different personalities in the poster.
Yeah, one serious and then the other one a little bit quirky, I guess. And
yeah,
and I like the way that
it looks like one is a little more off the rails,
a little malicious. But I like the way she's credited twice there, once forwards, once backwards.
That's amazing. I didn't notice that. That's really funny. That's great. When then we have this one, a little more teaser. So we have a little more like one looks like the more serious doctor, and the other one's probably more like the one who's looking into the science, you know, a little more maybe the cloning expert in the other one. And if they show them together a little bit, but you're right. If they're trying to take each other, be the one person, it could be this one surgeon is the genius scientist. We don't know yet. We haven't seen it. So we have the same heads that you're talking about, and we have that same reversed Rachel Weisz name, like you mentioned, which is interesting.
Maybe they're two halves of the same entity. Like maybe one of them is the genius and the other one is the personality, the presentation to the salesman. Yeah, the one that presents.
Which is kind of how I guess the original one was. One was kind of the face forward, goes to all the dinners and gets funding, and the other one was the one toiling away in the science lab, right?
Staying at home working, and the other one was going out, getting all the credit and
exactly.
And coming home and telling him, here's the award that we won. And
exactly. And then they use the award as a medical instrument.
Yeah.
Then we have this one. We have the lamb kind of lost in the folds of the fabric. And then they're committed to that reverse Rachel Weisz thing, which I actually do like. And I'm surprised that got approved, which I love.
It's all very symmetrical, all these designs.
I like how one hand's up, but it kind of leads into the other hands that are down.
Yeah.
Like there's that merging of them in a cool way. Yeah. So pretty nice.
One looking this way, one looking that way, and the lamb saying, "What do you want from me?"
Why am I in here? Why am I red? What's happening?
You don't get my reference.
Why am I in here?
Just made a movie reference.
Damn it.
You need to watch Goodfellas again.
I do need to watch Goodfellas again. I know I was confused because I was in Cronenberg brain, and then you threw in Martin Scorsese. And how am I supposed to process that?
I don't know.
So many things. Let us know if you've seen it. How close is it to the movie? We'd love to know. Have you seen the movie? Are you a Cronenberg fan? We'd love to hear from all you guys out there. So let us know what you think.
It looks interesting. I mean, it looks like
It
looks like more than maybe just a horror series. It looks like there's maybe some psychological, existential, like questions about the morality of playing God and all those kind of things. All those questions that Mary Shelley was asking in her novel Frankenstein, which is the first science fiction novel, which she kind of invented science fiction, I guess.
I guess she kind of did. I haven't seen the film in a while, but you get the gist.
It still holds up.
All right.
All right.
Still holds up. All right, you guys. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
And I would like to know if there are medical instruments for alien women. I just want to know if that's in here.
Mutated women.
Mutated women.
Mutated.
Aliens mutated.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the film in a while, but you get the gist.
Still holds up.